Godzilla, a force created by radiation sperm, is about to fight his most iconic enemy. And it was also created by radiation sperm and it has 3 heads. And thank God they explain why it has 3 heads in this movie, because then I would have been thrown for a total loop. Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah on the double feature DVD with Godzilla and Mothra, The Battle for Earth. From TriStar Pictures. Oh, thank you, TriStar. What can we expect from you next? An American version of Godzilla? Directed by Ronald Emmerich? Boner kill. Speaking of boner kill, there's a woman in this movie who's a total cock blocker. And I'll explain why later, but you think they're gonna get together, then there's this little funny twist, and it's like, wow, you're such a bitch. Now, you all know usually I have a poster right there that has the name and everything's perfect. There's no symbols or DVD sign on it. And I saw this poster for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, and I'm like, that is awesome. It screams like 80s and 90s mystical, magical destruction movies. And so I decided to have the poster without any words on it, just the image itself, and I think it looks really awesome. So let's get into the plot for Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah. I am going to try to say the plot as fast and as clear as I possibly can, because it is a mouthful. You ready? The plot for this film follows a spaceship that comes out to Earth, and everyone's like, oh my god, are they friendly? Are they here to destroy us? No potential that they are here from the future to give us information that Godzilla will destroy everything in his path in Japan. Unless they can use the device to get Godzilla from the past to the future. They do so, but they forget to mention that there are 3 little creatures called the Ghidorahs, and they turn into King Ghidorah from the radiation. Now it's in the past, and from the past, and now it's in the future, and King Ghidorah is destroying everything. There's no Godzilla to help because Godzilla no longer exists. So, holy crap, I did it. 40 takes, and I finally got it. And I hope I made everything nice and clear. Now, there is one character who is completely awesome, and he's better than all the other generic and mediocre characters in this film. That is because when back in the day he first saw Godzillasaurus is Godzilla before he hit radiation puberty, and he was like, this is pretty cool, a dinosaur. And then that dinosaur helps him kill all his enemies. And he has like this debt for him. And then he sees him outside his building as Godzilla, and he's a totally different monster now. And it's like, I salute you. And Godzilla's like, atomic breath! And he dies. Now, as I mentioned before, there is one actress who's a complete cockblocker in this film. Her character, it consists of one that was from the future, and she goes back to the past, and this guy's like, oh, I like this chick, she's pretty cool. And then she turns out to be his cousin from the future. And he's all like, you flirted with me. Now, King Ghidorah is pretty awesome in this film. I just recently found out that Ghidorah means Hydra. So, it's pretty coherent with what happens in the movie, because King Ghidorah gets his head ripped off by Godzilla, and they replace the head with a mechanical King Ghidorah head. So the middle head's now a mechanical head. And I thought that was pretty interesting, because if you cut off a Hydra's head, 2 of its heads grow back, so it gets its heads back. So I thought that was pretty similar to what would happen with a Hydra. I thought that was pretty cool. And now King Ghidorah is Mecha Ghidorah. Nice. Now, I did have a fun time with this film. The characters were, even though bland, some of them are pretty cool. And the effects and miniatures are awesome. Ghidorah looks awesome as always, although when he flaps his wings, they're not really flapping all the time. So it doesn't look as good as some of the other ones, but it is still a pretty decent entry in the Godzilla franchise. Well, overall, I give Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah a 3.5 out of 5. I am Brian Gatto, host of Horror Show Movie Reviews. Make sure to like my Facebook page in the description below, and to leave comments and subscribe.